Hi, everyone, and welcome to Terrell Talk. I'm Donna Terrell. It's an internet show that focuses on interesting people and interesting things happening in Central Arkansas. For at least the next 4 years, this is going to be a familiar face to the people of Little Rock. You're about to see it. It's the newly elected mayor, Frank Scott Jr., at a recent meeting. Mayor Scott, he talks a lot about uniting the city. So, former Little Rock Mayor Lottie Shackelford has been a close friend of our new mayor and an ally. And, you know, I wanted to talk with you because you were once a mayor. You know that it can be a challenge to unite a city. We have talked about racial biases on both ends of the spectrum. You know, in the police department, just a lot of different things that are happening. How tall of an order is that for a person, a new person, first of all, to city government, to come in and try to unite a city such as Little Rock?
Well, I think for anyone, actually, this would be a tall order, and particularly for a younger person, and I think Frank understands that. Sometimes I say he may be young in age, but he's probably an old soul.
Really? I've heard other people actually say that too.
Because I feel very comfortable in the sense that he's not a rash thinker. I mean, he's a determined and methodical type thinker.
Really?
And he doesn't just jump off into things, you know? And so I think that's a trait and a skill that will be beneficial as he tries to unify the city. And I think early on, he mentioned specifically the Fraternal Order of Police,
yes.
Because they did endorse another candidate. But he said he too wanted to work with them. He wanted to be their mayor, and he wanted them to see that he was genuine in his care and concern for the city, because he feels, I mean, that's where they are, you know. They may have wanted to go a different direction, but once it's over, we all want what's best for our city.
Yeah, we all want the same thing.
We all want the same thing.
At the end of the day. Were you at all surprised, and you mentioned a former candidate, they supported a former candidate, Baker Curris. Were you surprised that Mayor Scott included him in his transition team?
Not really, because if you're talking, I guess the way I think about it, if you're talking about unification, then you don't just get people around who think and act like you and who were supporters of yours. You need to make certain you have those who were not supporting you. And not that I view Baker as an enemy of his or anything like that, but Lyndon Johnson used to say, keep your enemies close. But I think what he was, to me, what that really means is you embrace all of the folk you're trying to represent. And so, no, it didn't surprise me.
Well, I will tell you this, and you weren't here to witness it, but, you know, we had the only debate between Frank Scott Jr. and Baker Curris was held here on Fox 16 and in conjunction with KARK. And so, you know, I mean, it was an intense debate. It was a very good debate. But one of the things I was able to see was after the debate was over, they shook hands, they talked, they, you know, it wasn't like one ran out of here, one went one way and the other one went the other way. I was delighted to see how nice they were toward each other, and not just cordial. You know, you can be cordial to someone, but you can also be nice to your fellow man, even though you're in a stiff competition and both of you want the same thing individually. So that was really nice to see. Well,
I think that speaks to the character of the type of person, of both of them, and particularly the person we've elected mayor, because a lot of times the person who is elected is not as generous. They sometimes, for some reason, start to feel that there was a special calling there and that gave them a leg up. I just don't see Frank being that kind of person.
Right.
And after all, he is a minister as well.
He's a man of the cloth, as they would say.
Yes.
You know, now he was sworn into office. We're showing a video again of, there we go. He was sworn into office on January 1st, just a few weeks ago, as you see him there. And I guess I'd like to hear from you, Lottie. What do you think is the first thing he should deal with? And two, what would be one of the biggest challenges he's going to face as the mayor of Little Rock?
Well, I think, and I'm seeing this, believing that parts of this has already been done.
Okay.
And that is working with his board of directors, because each board member is also elected.
Exactly.
And they too have constituencies, and they too have made commitments and promises. And as one board member said to me, she too had a vision that was given to her by God, that she intended to carry out, and promises that she made. So once you start understanding that while the mayor has the responsibility of, you know, portraying that vision or setting the tone and truly being the chief executive officer, he still has to work with a committee.
Right,
with
exactly.
the committee.
So he has to be able to work.
And being respectful of that, and I think the mayor is very much
biggest challenge that you see from where you're sitting.
Well, these last few years, I think crime has been at the forefront. When I say crime, the increase in crime, violent crimes, has been at the forefront here in Little Rock. And so I think every citizen, that's their #1 issue. They want a safe city.
Yeah.
They want a safe city. So that's going to be a challenge for him.
Mayor Scott, as he was, you know, working toward election, that's one of the things he said. He wanted people to feel like they could move to Little Rock and feel safe.
Yes.
You know, and as it stands right now, you have a lot of people who just don't feel safe and they're afraid to move here. So maybe some of those changes can be made. We're going to wrap it up, but before we do, I'm going to talk a little bit about what you've been up to politically. Because Lottie, I mean, you're retired now.
Yes.
Thank
goodness.
I know, it must feel good to be retired, but it's almost as though, since I know you, as I mentioned in our past segment, you and we're on the Little Rock chapter of the Links Incorporated. I was going to say board. It's not a board. It's an organization. We're both involved with that, a community service organization. So oftentimes I know when you're in town or when you're out of town, or you're off, you know, if there's an election going on, you're very involved in that. And it's not always here in Little Rock. It's elsewhere. So what is it that you're doing?
Well, now I have the pleasure and opportunity of chairing the Women's Caucus for the Democratic National Committee, which means I'm involved with trying to help identify and then support and get more women elected to office. And of course, this was a banner year. 2018 was really super.
Both here and nationally.
And nationally, yes. Because even in our state legislature, we increased the number of women who were elected to office.
We reported on that, yes.
We're not at parity. We still have a long way to go. But just think now, when we're hearing all of the talk about the presidential election, and there are already 4 women who have expressed some level of interest. Either they've formed an exploratory committee or they're thinking about it or something. But 4 women at this stage of the game.
Right.
That's progress.
Yes.
That's progress.
Women. So you are all about empowering women.
I have 4 granddaughters and 2 daughters, and yes.
Well, Lottie Shackelford, former mayor of the city of Little Rock, thank you so much for letting me basically put you on the hot seat and ask you all these questions about our newly elected mayor, but I appreciate it. I know you have a lot of insight, and I know you love your city.
Oh, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, I want to thank you for joining us for this edition of Terrell Talk. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or night. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.